participating?
Yeah, sure. Okay, Bruce?
Hi, hi folks, my name is Bruce Behrhorst. I'm from Surrey, which is the next little town over here, across the river. I'm sort of like retired unemployed. I don't know what I'm supposed to be, but I know the government always says, but yeah, you know, you can't retire, you just have to keep on until you die. So that's where I'm at right now. Basically, what is going on here is a situation where we have four countries who have very weak democracies. And we have the UK, US, Canada, and France. They all have roughly the same kind of voting system. And as you know, you can tell that all these countries are involved in a lot of military activity abroad, with a lot of violent activity in intervention. Although Canada is retreating, and so is the United States, basically because they can afford it, leaving projects undone, and creating a lot of havoc, and of course a lot of pain from people in the Canadian forces having to come back with a stingy government. So that's just one of the little problems that we have in this country, and that's the same in the U.S. Since I have relatives there, basically it's basically the same story with returning vets. Now, just on the democracy front, a lot of the problems, of course, have come up lately with the federal government in Ottawa supporting the Elections Act. That is, of course, they're trying to reform it. The big ruse, I guess, for a lot of people that are upset is the voter vouching. And besides all the other problems, but the vouching is the number one issue, and frankly, for me, for a lot of people that maybe think a little bit more, is that you could go to any polling booth in Canada and be naked and still be able to vote. You don't need ID. In fact, Mr. Christopherson of the NDP had raised that issue and in Parliament, and Mr. Poilievre basically attempted to ridicule that suggestion. But it's frank. The government has all your data. They have your pick. They have your data. So you don't need ID. The onus is on the government. The government is asking you, as a franchise, to make decisions. So essentially, it's the polling official that's supposed to match you with the data and verify. And if you're not registered, then you register on the spot and get the vote. So no matter which way you look at it, you vote. Make it if you want. But that's the issue. But ridiculing people, I don't think is very nice. But that's just one issue, and I haven't even touched the financial issue. The feds know that the law is already written in that regard. Basically, on returning party members. Basically, it's very party-centric. And if you, excuse me, but if you go into the provincial, like here in BC, it's worse. It's worse. It's unlimited. Bill 20, which is on its second reading, basically deals with that issue. And the BC Liberals are basically saying, well, most people only spend like $240. $240, okay, so that means that there's no big issue because we don't have amounts that the federal candidates do, so we should be able to basically have an unlimited to finance. So yeah, it's very very draconian. Myself is, I know some people are going to get upset with me, but frankly, I live, when people ask me, where do you live? I say I live in BC. That's the North Korea of Canada. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is with a lot of the backward kind of weak democracy that we have in Victoria. There's a lot of issues, lots of issues, and a lot of it is having to look, if you want to look at the progress of Bill 20, you can take a look at the Hansard website, and you can read through it. It's in second reading now. So that's just one issue. Making it fair, talking about the vouching issue, financial campaigning, and of course the big one that they don't want to talk about is basically proportional representation. I got involved in that basically when the province in Campbell had, did their little shuffle to rig the referendum, that plebiscite for STV, which was shot down. And the reason that was shot down was because they had rigged it with provisos. So that would have easily passed. And the politicians, whatever level of situation, and that's basically what it is, basically to narrow the situation down so they can keep voters out. The other thing too is that I discuss on the Facebook. If you go to Fairvote Canada, there's a discussion site. None of the above alternative on ballot design. So there's the NODA. I favor the write-in, so that there's a write-in option, so that people can begin now to vote for a person who is not in the writing. So you're not shackled with a ballot that says you can only vote in this writing. That you can vote for, let's say, your party, your particular party in a proportional rep is not located or doesn't have a candidate running in your riding, you can vote in the riding next door. And in a federal election, you can vote in wherever you can find that fave candidate. Because we're not going into a supermarket where we only see party A, party B. So we got to get away from that. So essentially, we talk about ballot design and having the widest approach possible to voting, so you're not locked down into voting in the two-party system, in duopoly. Monopoly is what we have in North Korea. We're just a little bit below Kim Sung-yeon. just a little bit, with the duopoly. So that's what it is. The other thing is the Vancouver has one of the worst ratios for representation. Essentially, we calculated out ratio to representation of population, and Vancouver's one of the worst compared to Banff and Toronto or Montreal or any of the other big cities in Canada. So that's where we're at.